Dr. Jazz. Dr. Jazz.
Um, Weather Report was, of course, a different kind of a beast. Uh, I flew out to Hollywood, where Jaco and I, the plan was we would meet that evening. And I can't find him anywhere at the hotel. Now, the hotel was not too far from a place called the Club Roxy on
Yeah.
Sunset Boulevard. It's a famous, more or less like rock
Yeah.
showcase club. Um, and I found out later, Jaco told me that he had been invited uh, to go see Billy Cobham. They were doing a record release party. He had just signed to Columbia, and so Jaco was seated at this long table in front of the bandstand uh, with other CBS artists, including Stanley Clark. And Jaco said there was a big bowl of fruit and grapes and raisins and cashews and that as Billy was playing his solo. 'Cause Billy had a very large drum set, cymbals high up in the air. They were throwing grapes, trying to hit Billy's drumsticks during his solo. and, and I thought maybe Jaco was only joking, but I asked Stanley about it later, and Stanley said, "No, man, that's true. We actually were doing that." Anyway, so I can't find Jaco. I just spent the night alone, had dinner and went to bed and got up early. Of course, I was excited, and I had a new drum set, so I decided to walk to the rehearsal space. It was a place called Studio Instrument Rentals, SIR, and maybe 3 or 4 kilometers distance from the hotel, I think. But I had a lot of energy, and so I walked there. And I'm there maybe 2-3 hours before the start of the rehearsal, and I'm setting up the drums, tuning them. I get to meet the road crew, and then the one of the tour managers or somebody came said, "Peter, the guys called. They're going to be a couple hours late." Oh, okay, fine. So instead of 1 o'clock now, it's 3 o'clock, and then he comes over. He goes, "Sorry, they're going to be a couple more hours late." So they finally show up about 7 o'clock at night for a 1 o'clock rehearsal. So I've been there all afternoon. They walk in together, so they must have met outside in the parking lot. Zavanel has a dried up marijuana bit of in English we call it a roach, stuck to his lower lip, and he's looking at me, kind of looking me up and down, and kind of glum. He shakes my hand. Wayne is very friendly, lovely smile, and hey, and then Jaco kind of waves at the door, and then leaves. Joe is ignoring me now, and he goes up to and he's playing with the synthesizers. And again, if this had happened at 1 o'clock, I'm sure I would have waited to receive instructions.
Yeah.
But now I'm so bored, so I just walked up to the drums, and I started playing. And Joe looked kind of surprised, and he's digging it, so he starts playing. And then Wayne joined us, so the three of us are playing, just jamming, and I see Jaco at the far end of this rehearsal stage, and he has a 6-pack of Heineken beer, and he walks in with his beer, and he sees this, and he gets a huge smile on his face, kind of like this is what he was hoping would happen.
Mm.
So because it was on his recommendation that they hired me. So he puts the beer in a refrigerator, jumps up on the stage about. It wasn't such a high stage. And Samo, he turns to his left. It's like this. He jumps up. He turns to his left, and a bass comes flying in the air, and he catches it with one hand, straps it around his back, and he starts playing. So we do an impromptu about 40-minute medley of Weather Report music. And I remember at one point looking out, and there was Tom Scott just standing there. Jaco had invited him, and Tom's there with his mouth open, just like that. So I said, maybe that's a good sign. And we end up on this song, Gibraltar.
Yeah.
Boop, boop, boop,
Yeah.
boop, 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 on and on. And then Joe finally gives the universal kind of, boop, 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 bop, boop, bop. So, that wasn't too hard to read, the signal. And so we end, and the three of them start laughing, and high-fiving. So I take that to be a very good sign. Now, Jaco, let's see. Joe says, we don't need to rehearse, but come back tomorrow. Let's meet at 11 o'clock so we can take a band photo. I take that to be a good sign. Jaco says, come on, man. So now this is the start of a very long night. I'm hanging out with Jaco, and some point we go to I think we go to Tom Scott's house, and then Michelle Colombier shows up, and there's a little bit of a jam session there, and then we go to some other house, and there's Steve Gadd, and so Gadd and Jaco are talking, and I'm so naive, I can't understand. Wow, how can these guys stay up so late, and why are they talking so much? So anyway, the next morning, Jaco and I meet for breakfast. He takes me to a place where Tom Waits would always, where he stayed and always had his breakfast. I forget, there was some landmark. And then he takes me clothes shopping. He says, come on, we got to get you some better clothes. So we do clothes shopping, and then we go to the studio, and we pose for the band's first photo. And I find out, I am going to Japan with the band.
Yeah.
And then once that tour was finished, they asked me to join the band.
Oh.